Of course, major entities like Visa and Mastercard do not want people sending backlash their way. They do not want their phone lines clogged up. They don't want to have to respond to emails. And ultimately, they just want people to accept the moves that they are making. And that is not happening because gamers have been wrecking them on social media for days at this point. And of course, Mastercard is still focused on deflecting the blame. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I can't say I'm surprised that they do not want to take responsibility for this happening because there are millions of gamers on social media who are talking about the situation and who are upset over the fact that NSFW games are being targeted right now. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who say, oh my gosh, they're just sex simulators. I don't play them anyway, so it's not that important. And I get that you might not care about the content that has been taken down, but censorship is a slippery slope and we need to call it out at all times, and that is what I am going to continue to do on this channel, and I recommend other people do as well. But of course, 2 weeks after Valve confirmed it had removed a pile of NSFW games from Steam because of pressure from credit card companies, and 1 week after itchio followed suit, Mastercard released a statement denying responsibility for the takedowns, saying it allows all lawful purchases to be processed through the system when we know that that is not the case. They are saying that, oh, well, we allow lawful purchases. Well, this content is lawful. This content is not illegal. I get that they have rules that are written up in very specific ways, but they are usually talking about things happening in the real world, like you can't profit off of somebody being essayed, right? A real living human being, which obviously I completely understand. That is bad content. But we are talking here about video games. We are talking about fictional characters in fictional world doing fictional things, and video games, books, movies, paintings, art is all protected. Now, they don't seem to care about that, but they want to say, well, we allow lawful purchases when we know that that is one of the reasons why they are doing this right now, because I guess they believe that it's illegal. But another part of this is something that Valve actually recently admitted, that basically any content that Mastercard says could damage their brand, they can stop the sale of whenever they feel like. So, of course, I've talked about their statement in another video, will be linked down below, but Mastercard claims that they have not evaluated any game or required restrictions of any activity on game creator sites and platforms, contrary to media reports and allegations. Our payment network follows standards based on the rule of law. Put simply, we allow all lawful purchases on our network. At the same time, we require merchants to have appropriate controls to ensure Mastercards cannot be used for unlawful purchases, including illegal adult content. We're not talking about any content that, of course, is illegal here. We're not talking about anything that harms people in the real world, but they are saying that technically we're correct, and they are, because they have not evaluated any game. They're just threatening these platforms into removing it because they're saying, well, you can keep this content on your platform, but you can't make money off of it from us. The article says, though, it's an odd statement at first glance because while the content removed by Steam and itchio may violate laws in some countries, it is fully legal in the US, and this is also another major problem because these are global companies we are talking about. They could say, well, China's law says you can't show blood in games unless it's, bright neon green and it's got certain textures and patterns over it so it looks nothing like blood. Well, this violates that law. Apart from that, both Valve and itchio explicitly stated that payment processors are the reason games were de-indexed or removed from sale completely. Though, I want to talk about this statement provided to PC Gamer. Valve said that it had tried to work things out with Mastercard directly prior to removing the games and suggested that Mastercard did have at least an indirect influence on the outcome. Mastercard did not communicate with Valve directly despite our requests to do so. Mastercard communicated with payment processors and their acquiring banks. Payment processors communicated this with Valve, and we replied by outlining Steam's policy since 2018 of attempting to distribute games that are legal for distribution. Payment processors rejected this and specifically cited Mastercard's rule and risk to the Mastercard brand, and it relates to illegal or brand damaging transactions. So anything that they think is inappropriate or that could damage their brand, they can say you cannot make money off of, which is just so rich because they are the ones who are severely damaging their own brand and their own image because of this situation. That includes, according to the rules, any product or services that is patently offensive and lacks serious artistic value. We've got some art critics on our hands, guys. Or any other material that the corporation deems unacceptable to sell in connection with a mark. Acquirers, the financial institutions that provide the cards and lines of credit, who fail to take action in response to complaints are subject to significant penalties, monetary and otherwise. While they are being penalized by gamers right now, given millions of us are on social media talking about how unhappy we are clogging their customer service lines. This Polygon article lays it out pretty well. Visa and Mastercard are getting overwhelmed by gamer fury over censorship. In the wake of storefronts like Steam and itchio curbing the sale of adult games, irate fans have started an organized campaign against the payment processors that they believe are responsible for the crackdown. Newsflash, they are. While the movement is still in its early stages, people are mobilizing with an eye towards overwhelming communication lines at companies like Visa and Mastercard in a way that will make the concerns impossible to ignore. And I'm happy to hear this because ultimately the only way we are going to be listened to by companies is if we are loud and vocal about it. Of course, if you contact these lines, do be respectful. I wouldn't want anybody that is on the other side of the line to feel uncomfortable or anything like that. We need to voice our opinions as respectfully as possible, so that maybe we're actually listened to by these companies. But yeah, I mean, when you make it hard for consumers to be listened to, we have to be even louder, and gamers have proven time and time again, we are willing to stand up for our hobby. Of course, over the years, Steam has censored some content, and I do think that that is really bad. But ultimately, I have been covering this so much because I don't think that we should have to deal with censorship in our entertainment. And if we don't support companies that have done questionable things in the past, basically we're never going to support any company ever again, because so many companies really are just so scummy and they really shouldn't be blindly trusted. So I will continue to cover this. And of course, Visa had put out a very similar statement saying, whoa guys, technically we're not the ones that are making this decision. We're not the ones that are directly removing the content, but we know that they are threatening these platforms. So these platforms have tried their best to comply because they are worried about losing a way that obviously they can receive money from their customers. And I know that itchio, Valve, and even GOG right now are trying to fight back. GOG had put out a certain controversial game bundle, and they said that they support developers and customers and they stand against censorship. Itchio brought back all of the free NSFW games, and you of course also have Valve saying, well, they're liars because this is the information we received. So I'll continue to cover it as much as possible, even if a lot of the information is what we already know, because it is so important and because we need as many eyes on this situation as possible. So right now they are all deflecting the blame back onto Valve, back onto itch, and I can't say I'm shocked. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this and found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.